The President of the United States, who vowed to drain the swamp, has now been caught up at the center of it. If you think it's because of the impeachment inquiry, then you are in for a culture of corruption from the circle of President Trump. We are talking about the Mueller probe. A longtime friend and confidant of President Trump, Roger Stone, has been found guilty of obstructing a congressional investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. The jury found Stone guilty on all 7 counts, including lying to lawmakers about WikiLeaks, tampering with witnesses and evidence, and obstructing a House Intelligence Committee investigation into whether the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia to tip the 2016 election in a particular direction. Trump reacted immediately, asking on Twitter if the conviction amounted to a double standard like never seen before in the history of America. And the charges that were filed by special counsel Robert Mueller, alleging that the 67-year-old Republican operative had misled the Congress during the Trump-Russia investigation. Prosecutors had accused Stone of narrating 5 different lies to the lawmakers related to WikiLeaks and Assange. During 2016 elections, WikiLeaks had released emails from the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton's campaign chief. The emails were seen as potentially damaging to Clinton's campaign against Donald Trump. But the American intelligence officials and Robert Mueller later concluded that the emails had been stolen by Russian hackers. Roger Stone is the 6th person from Trump's inner circle to be convicted. The first one to be convicted was Michael Cohen. Trump's former personal lawyer was sentenced last year to 3 years in prison for lying to the Congress. Campaign finance violations and tax evasion were the other charges. Cohen had separately received an additional 2 months of prison time for lying to the Congress about a Moscow Trump Tower deal. And then there was George Papadopoulos, a former Trump foreign policy advisor, was sentenced in September last year to 14 days in prison after pleading guilty to lying to the FBI agents about his contacts with Russian intermediaries during the 2016 campaign. He had filed the documents in October to run for Katy Hill's vacant California congressional seat. Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign manager, of course, was found guilty by a Virginia court of tax and bank fraud in August last year. And in November the same year, Manafort voided his plea deal in separate federal charges brought by Mueller. He is currently serving a combined 7.5 years in prison from both cases. And then there was Rick Gates, a former deputy to Manafort during the Trump campaign, pleaded guilty in February last year to charges of conspiracy against the U.S. and making false statements. Despite a plea bargain, Gates faces between 4 to 6 years in prison. But his sentencing date is yet to happen, partially because he had testified against Roger Stone. Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor, pleaded guilty in December 2017 for lying to the FBI. But nearly 2 years later, Flynn is yet to be sentenced now. His sentencing has been scheduled for early December. Such a verdict arising from investigations of Russian interference in the 2016 election is not only a blow to Roger Stone, but renews scrutiny on then-candidate Donald Trump's activities, especially at a time when he faces an impeachment probe that could derail his presidency.